Our student Nina Debug Rao reaches to the professor Bug Hunter and asked very excitedly what this is all about: agent, workflows, MCP servers, A2A protocol, all these buzzwords which is running in all the tech companies. What are these? How they are related? She is very curious to know all these things. And interestingly, Professor Edinburgh Hunter is also having this time. He immediately become ready to explain all these concepts. And if you are also thinking to learn about these concepts, what is MCP server, what is A2A, what is the difference between the workflow and the agent, then stay tuned. So let's start. Let's start with what is workflow first. In general, you might have created some different workflows in your code. There can be different type of workflows. It can be sequential. It can be having multiple paths. They can combine. There can be some parallel paths, and later it can combine and spread the final results. Right. So here we have built sequential some paths are diverging and then combining the results, kind of map reduce. Here we have few parallel paths which are running. So there are n number of possibilities creating workflow. And in any software or any program, you might have created such type of things like if else condition or parallel condition, creating the different threads or different processes to run the code. And at the end, you might have some one result, starting with one input or even multiple inputs. Right here, what is the commonalities? There is a proper sequence or a set of rules through which it need to move, right? And this is called a workflow. If we see the now the agent in the any agent application, what is agent? And then we can clearly differentiate between what is the difference between the workflow and how the agents are different, and what we should build. We will have those criteria as well. We should build either a workflow using LLMs, or we should be building agent. So let's talk what is agent. You might have heard a lot about agents, agentic applications, different types of agent, architecture. So consider a very simple definition of an agent. You have an node which is using LLM. An LLM decides whether it can go to the end state or it should use some other tool. So we can have these tools or function calling. Here LLM is deciding which path to choose, whether it should go to the tool and then tool will not directly end, but it will go to the LLM. Right. So this cycle will continue till the LLM feel that final output is not reached, and which is basically depending on your input and your prompts and what you want to achieve. Once LLM do this iteration, an LLM is deciding when to call this tool, and there can be multiple tools, not just one. So there can be such n number of tools, and each tool will basically LLM decide when to call which particular tool. So here we have what we have. We have n number of tools. We have LLM, which is acting as a brain. Brain means it is making a decision whether it is done or not. Whereas in workflow, if you see, you have a specific logic which path to choose, and this is hard coded. Before you are coding, you know when we should go this path or either this path, and you code this in this particular node. On the other hand, when you are building agent, your LLM is deciding on the fly based on the input which is given to the LLM whether it is done with the output or it should be consuming any tool, and this tool information is already fed in the LLMs. If you are building your own application, then you will bind these tools to the LLM. So let's see the difference. Here LLM is acting as a brain. Here you know beforehand which path to choose based on certain conditions, and this makes very interesting. Whenever you are developing agentic application, you will have the dilemma whether we should go for workflow or agent. But a general reasoning would be, okay, why not to, because LLM can decide which path to choose, so why not just go with the LLM agent building. LLM will take care of it. But the problem with this approach comes when, what if LLM doesn't decide properly, or it hallucinate, or it doesn't have all the information, it just went to end state instead of calling these tools. And also it calls, there are multiple tools, it calls the other tools which is you think should not be called, but other tools should be called. So in such cases, if you want to mitigate these type of scenarios and you know beforehand that, okay, if this condition occurs, then I need to call this particular path or tool or an another path. So in this case, you should go with workflow. But if you are not sure, and on the fly based on the different types of problems, and your problem when you are building the solution at the runtime, there can be millions of possibilities. Then you should think about building an agent where LLM will take the decision whether which tool to call. I hope you got the difference between the workflow and the agent, and when these should be called. And it's a very important point whenever you are thinking, okay, whether my choice should be workflow based application or just an agent based application. And by the way, these LLMs are also using LLM workflows are using LLMs. Each node can call LLM, do a part of the or subtask of the whole problem, and then move the input to the next stage. So for the overall, you can solve a bigger problem with different parts in the workflow. Whereas agent, you have an LLM and you have created different tools, and let the LLM decide which tool to call, in which order, in how many iterations, and you can also control those iterations, how many iteration you want your LLM should do before exit. Otherwise, there are chances it can find itself in the loop and infinite loop, which is not the case, because every time there is a recursion frequency we need to set so that the output comes within time and with proper quality. Okay, next step would be what are these tools, and then what are the MCPs? MCP servers, you might have heard, and MCP clients. It is basically an abstract version of these tools. Because if you are writing an application, then you need to write your own tools. But what if you have other functionality which you can call and provide them to the LLM as an MCP server and client. Your basically this node, let me change my pen. This particular node can have different types of servers, but this will act as a client. So uh, so you have your LLM on the node, and it is given a different MCP servers connected, and these MCP servers can be either you might be running on your local machines or when you're doing development, but this can be hosted, or this can be bundled along with the whole application. That is also fine. And LLM, you're the node, and this MCP server, basically now this is acting as an MCP client. So your client can call contact server with different types of protocol. It can be streaming, it can be HTTP call, or it can be any proprietary protocol, or even this server is running as a part of the a different folder. It has all the code. It can take the code for this server from your local storage. Now, what is the advantage of being using this MCP server? Now, anyone, there is a possibility of innovation. Like the people who are very good at particular tasks, they can build their own MCP servers and provide them as a service. And these are the MCP servers created by different people, different having the expertise in each their own domain, and these are acting as a service. And your application, that your agent that you are building, you can use these as a service, and these will be charged accordingly, right? So there's a huge possibility of now innovation. Anyone who is good at one particular task, they can build their own MCP servers, and you can leverage that expertise um, through these MCP server protocol. In simple terms, these are basically tools, or even the function calling, which is the first developed by during the LLM creation. The first function calling started, then we started thinking in terms of tools. Now, more abstract in terms of servers, MCP servers. Okay. Our next stage. What are A2A agents? Agent to agent, or agent to agent protocol. So basically, given you are building an agent and you are owning one part of the problem or a task, and you have that much of expertise, what if there are other companies or other people who are building their own agents, and the real agent benefit would be when these agents can communicate to each other. So it is agent to agent protocol for communicating between the different agents. Consider a use case. I think with that it will be much easier to understand. You are building an application or an agent, AI agent, which is talking about or providing services for your holiday planning. In a holiday plan, like there are number of things to maintain. So first part is basically you need to know what are your options to go, right? So basically, let's say consider package creation. You can go to Dubai, you can go to US, you can go to Europe or Switzerland, wherever, right? Or even the local localities within your own country, Maldives, within India, whatever. Right. So there are different packages. Now to build these information, your agent, you need to know about your preferences. Either you have provided an input or it sees your past travel history, travel details, which is within this agent you have provided. Based on that, it will check what are the packages available, and given the time period, the holiday, which is the best place to move. This is one part of the problem. But because you are planning a holiday, that means you need to book the tickets, flights, cabs, hotels, everything, destination passes. So let's say there is a separate agent which is doing this, basically bookings. It will book your itineraries and from which particular provider should book, what are your preferences. So this is completely a separate problem. Now this problem can be solved by one organization or a separate organization. Similarly, this package creation can be created by different types of organization, and they can, if they can communicate, it will be easier to leverage that knowledge or the expertise from a different providers if it is possible, or even if the same organization building these two agents, then it is more modular. It knows what is the job of this particular agent and what are the job of this particular agent. Different teams can work, different technologies can be used, they are completely different. It's same as how we thought in terms of microservices. Each service is separate. In the agentic application, here these agents are different and they are communicating through some protocol, and that protocol is A2A protocol. So I hope you are liking this, and what are the different terminologies and what are all about these buzzwords which is coming, and different companies are building the different types of solutions. So what you are building, Professor Bug Hunter will be very happy to know what you are building and how you are using these concepts. So please let him know about the your innovative solution that you are thinking in the comment section. And Nina Debagrao is very happy to know all these concepts, and she is very excited to learn the new concepts and apply these concepts for building an application which will solve some real problems. Till then, Nina is not building this, and or Nina is not coming again to Professor Bug Hunter. I think we need to take a leave. Thank you.